So you're painting?
Yes. I mean, not for cash, but yeah.
Right, well, who needs cash?
Who needs cash? I do.
Right.
So.
Yeah, how's Helen?
Oh, she's good. She's great. We're not together anymore.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thanks. Yeah.
What happened?
She dumped me.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah, it was
I'm
bad.
sorry.
No, thank you. That's okay. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
She wanted to be with somebody a little more gay.
I'm Vanessa Zoltan.
I'm Hannah McGregor.
And I'm Marcelle Kosman.
And this is Hot and Bothered.
And we are talking about the ending of Kissing Jessica Stein, the kind of happily ever after, insofar as this is a happily ever after. So I am going to summarize how this movie ends. So Helen and Jessica have moved in together, and it's not going great. And Helen breaks up with Jessica. And this is like a heartbreaking scene. Like right in the middle of their breakup, Jessica's mom calls and you get to hear their like cute couple answering machine message. And then the fact that she calls herself mom to both of them, which
sweet.
is like so tender.
Yeah.
And makes that breakup feel really painful. And then we have a jump forward from there and we get to see both of them a little bit later. So we now see the two of them in their sort of new transformed contexts where they've moved through the pain of the breakup. They are friends now and their lives are looking better. What that looks like for Helen is that she is in a relationship with somebody new named Lori. And Lori likes to have sex with her. And you can tell because they sleep in a bed with red satin sheets.
Yeah, baby.
Shiny.
They're so shiny. I always look at satin sheets and I think, slippery.
And Jess was wearing like Victorian nightgowns to bed. And these two ladies are in tank tops.
They're in tank tops.
Slutty.
They are like interacting with a sort of playful comfort with each other that Jessica obviously never arrived at.
Right.
And then we see Jessica and we see one, vitally, Jessica has curly hair now.
Yeah, baby.
Wow. Can you believe it? And she has left her job at the New York Tribune to pursue her art. And she is in a little bookstore handing out flyers. What are the flyers for?
To share studio space.
Oh, okay. She's looking for somebody to share studio space with. That's why one of the bookstore employees is like, I might know somebody.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so like she's given it a go. She had given up on her art and she's trying to be an artist now. And her hair is curly and she runs into Josh in the bookstore. In again, what feels to me like a hat tip to When Harry Met Sally. They run into each other in the bookstore and we find out that Josh has also left the newspaper, presumably after Jessica did. And he is also working on his writing. So like both of them have like left this unsatisfying job and are being artists now. And they have a very cute sort of awkward exchange of numbers. She gives him the flyer because it has her phone number on it, but also it has her email because Jessica used to refuse to use email, but now she's like succumbed and uses email. And it's like, cool. She has changed. She has chilled out a little bit. She's become a little bit more flexible. So there's a possibility here. And then we see Helen and Jessica meet up for coffee afterwards. And we get to see the sort of ease and comfort with which they are friends, with which they discuss each other's romantic relationships, right? Like Helen's on the phone with Lori as Jessica walks up and like puts down the phone and says like, Lori sends her love. And Jessica's like, oh, love to her as well. Like, it's so clear that they are real life friends. And then they, start talking about the meet cute that Jessica just had with Josh. And that's where it ends.
Mm-hmm.
So what does this ending contribute to what the movie believes about love?
Curly hair.
Is that you can only have it if you have curly hair.
I mean, that curly hair means that you've chilled out.
Mm-hmm.
I think it says two things. One, it names that the problem with Jess was that she wasn't gay enough. Josh asks, how's Helen? And she goes, Helen's great. We're not together anymore. She wanted someone a little more gay. And like, I just wasn't gay enough. And so I think that this retreads that. The other thing that happens is that Jess is chilled out, but not totally.
Yeah.
The ending of this movie is very like she has changed, but not by a lot. She has started to meditate, but she's constantly going to check the clock every 10 seconds to see how meditating is going, how long she has meditated for. I would even argue that her hair is wavy, not curly, because she's only changed a little,
Yeah.
And so she's become more open-minded, but not open-minded. And so it is this like, you can try to change and grow, but like you are who you are. And like Jess wasn't gay, and that's okay. But she's going to meditate now.
Yeah. I think it's important that is a thing that Jessica says, that it's her interpretation of how their relationship ended.
Totally.
We can take that with a grain of salt.
Absolutely.
But it's certainly how she has understood the end of the relationship, is her essentially being like, turned out I wasn't gay.
Yeah.
Or wasn't gay enough.
Right. What about the two of you? What do you think that this contributes to what the movie believes about love?
I'm a little worried that this might contradict what I said previously, but
fine. That was last week. Who could possibly remember?
Yeah, who remembers? I contain multitudes. One of those multitudes is hypocrisy.
Mine too.
I think.
Not me.
I wonder if this scene tells us that if you are friends, you're not in a relationship. Like, I think it's saying you can't be friends with your significant other. If we think back to Jessica and Josh's very kind of like testy, tumultuous relationship where they didn't really make each other happy. They were kind of mean to each other all the time. And then we think about like how much Jessica and Helen love each other, but Jessica and Helen can't be in a relationship together. And so I wonder if it's saying like, you got to choose. You can't have both. You can't be friends with your partner.
That's not you contradicting yourself. That's you contradicting me, and I love it.
Oh, thank goodness. Phew. Okay. I do not contain multitudes.
I mean, I gotta say, I think maybe the gayest thing about this movie is the fact that the two of them break up and then are best friends.
Yeah.
Because that is lesbian culture.
Yeah.
It's being best friends with your exes.
And that's why I could never be a real lesbian. I can only ever be a bisexual because I will never be friends with an ex.
You're a petty bitch. Yeah.
I am a petty bitch.
You know, one of the things that I find so interesting about the way this movie ends is that it ends with a meet cute, which is generally not how rom-coms end. Though, again, it feels a little sort of hat tip to Sleepless in Seattle, which ends with a meet cute. But the ending, the way it ends with the friendship between Helen and Jessica and with Jessica and Josh having their meet cute, does leave me asking, who is the couple at the heart of this movie insofar as it is a rom-com?
Yeah.
Like, is this a movie that is about Jessica and Helen's relationship? Or is this actually a rom-com that is about what it takes for Jessica and Josh to find their way back together?
Yeah.
And a flirtation with lesbianism was just something that Jessica needed to do so that she could let her hair down a little bit and become less of an uptight perfectionist.
Can I answer?
Yes.
Do you want to hear? Yeah.
No, I like my questions to be responded to with silence.
I thought you liked your questions to be rhetorical.
Respectful silence, please.
I think that Jessica and Josh are the couple at the heart of this movie. And I think
Absolutely.
that that's one of the reasons why I had so much trouble watching it, because I never believed in Helen and Jessica as a couple.
Yeah.
And there was a point every now and again I would like check to see how much time was left in the movie. This is how I know if I like need to anticipate something really big happening.
Yeah.
And there was like 10 minutes left in the movie and they were like in bed together. And I was like, there's no way. And then in bed, they proceed to then have a fight and break up. Again, remembering what you guys said last week, this is a straight movie. It's not a gay movie. And so that's fine.
It's a straight movie with some gay characters.
Yeah.
It's a straight movie with some gay content. I don't know.
Well, there are two gay men. They just have a very small part.
Yes.
With some gay minor characters.
A very small part and a very big apartment.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bookshelf porn in this movie.
Yeah, there is. There
Mhm.
is. This movie
Yeah.
believes in the paperback. Yeah, I don't find Helen and Jessica a believable couple either. I think that the movie writes a really brilliantly complex character with Jessica. I don't understand why Helen likes Jessica. There's this really beautiful scene where Helen is complaining about dating Jessica, and her big complaint is that
Yeah.
she's straight.
Yeah.
She's like, this girl is not putting out. I want sex. And hello, she is straight. And then Jessica calls and she becomes, like, oh, hi.
So tender.
I like you.
Mhm.
And so I think the movie is having us believe, like, Helen's just into Jessica. Like, she's just into her. She loves this, like, neurotic lady who's like, what do you do to be happy? Oh, I'm not.
Mhm.
Jessica isn't likable, but Helen is just into her. And yet,
Yeah.
I understand that the movie is so well structured that it tells me that. And it even tells me that it has Jessica take care of Helen when Helen is sick. And so we see that Jessica is good to Helen and is giving Helen something that Helen does not believe that she needs, that none of Helen's other lovers have ever given her. Like, the movie knows that it has to defend Jessica to us. And I still don't find it compelling.
Mhm.
And, like, I guess what I think that the end of this movie really reveals is that, like, this is a movie that is saying this poor woman got so desperate about men, she was even willing to lick a vagina. And it didn't work, right? Like, I really do think that this is, like, actually about, I'm serious.
Lick a vulva, please.
Lick a vulva. I think that this is a movie about a woman's desperation at the end of the day. And it's because it was written by two straight women who, like, see bisexuality as desperate.
Oh, God, that's a bummer.
Whew.
No, it's, like, not great on queerness.
Yeah, I agree that it's not great on queerness. And I agree that in whatever way the two leads who also wrote the movie identify, because, like, I don't know, we know that they both married men, but, like, bisexual women love marrying men.
It's a curse.
Oh yeah, no, I know. It's very bad. See previous compulsory heterosexuality. So, like, I don't know if they identify as straight, but boy, does it feel straight.
Yeah.
It feels really straight.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that, I've mentioned a few times that I think it's a real, like, love story to a lot of classic rom-coms, including the, like, getting sick and being gross and having somebody take care of you is, like, a real rom-com trope.
Yeah.
And I think it is engaged exclusively with the history of straight rom-coms and not engaged with the history of queer film in any meaningful way, which is part of, again, what makes it feel so straight.
I mean, I also think that this movie kind of believes that Jews should end up with Jews. And, like, the movie starts in a synagogue and then it ends with the two Jews together.
Yeah.
Her brother marries a Jewish girl, right? Like, I do think that this is, like, a very Jewish movie. And Helen never shows any interest in converting. So, like,
Yeah.
No, it doesn't even come up.
no, she doesn't even incorporate the story of I've been to a Shabbat in her line about Judaism, right? Like, when she goes to Shabbat, she says, I've been to a Seder. And then later at the wedding, someone is like, are you Jewish? And she goes, I've been to a Seder. And I'm like, babe, you've now been to a Seder and a Shabbat. Like, you actually have been
You've
to
doubled
two
your
things.
Jewish experience.
Yeah. And like,
Yeah.
right, like she's totally not folding that in. And so I do also think, truly, I think this movie believes that Jews should marry Jews.
I think that makes a lot of sense because if we think too about like that crisis point in Helen and Jessica's relationship before Jessica starts taking it seriously, that happens when Jessica's getting ready for her brother's wedding. And it has not even occurred to her to tell Helen about the wedding, let alone invite her, because Helen is part of a totally separate part of Jessica's life. Helen is not part of Jessica's life as a Jewish woman. She's part of Jessica's romantic life, which is often its own little bubble.
Yeah.
It's not even part of her work life, which is also part of her Jewish life because of all of her Jewish coworkers.
Yeah. Yeah. Her best friend at work is invited to her brother's wedding. There is this like integrated, right.
All Jews in New York know each other, Vanessa.
I know.
That's why the weddings are so big.
Yeah, and Josh is totally integrated into her family because he's also friends with her brother.
And they all went to school together. I presume a Jewish school?
No, they all went to Brown, which is not technically a Jewish school.
Is it, you know how McGill is a Jewish school? Is Brown like McGill?
So this is something that we can fight about because I don't like this because people call, like Brandeis is a Jewish school, but people makes jokes in this country about schools being Jewish once they have about 15% Jews. And I'm like, how many Jews are too many Jews for you? Like 15%
That's so fair.
and the whole place becomes Jewish?
This is like a version of how like men think women have talked the majority of the time if women talk
like
12% of the time.
Exactly. And so like I don't know what the population of Brown is, but I guarantee you it is not above a third Jewish. It is not. And I am sure it is the kind of place where people are like, oh, it's basically a Jewish school.
By which they mean I will meet a Jewish person while I'm here.
Yeah, and I really hate that. I'm like, I'm sorry that we went over our quota.
Oh, boy.
Oh, my God. Okay, this is a bit of a pivot, but I would really like to come back to this question of Jessica's relationship to email.
Okay.
I've written down when she's set up at the Shabbat dinner, there's like a guy who her parents have invited for her to meet, and he works for IBM. And I think her brother is like, oh, Jessica hates computers.
No. Max, Medina, and Helen say it at the same time.
Oh, they do say it at the same time.
They go, Jessica
Max,
hates
Medina,
computers.
and Helen say it at the same time, Jessica hates computers. And she says, I just feel like they're numbing and obscuring our humanity, you know? Which is an incredible line.
Not wrong.
Right? Oh, way to predict the future. Jessica, you are actually on the right side of history.
Yeah.
God, and the way that I like when she's like, I receive email, I just don't respond to them. I was like,
same.
Oh, a dream. My God, I wish. But like her coming around to email, like, how do we read this? Is this just her being chiller? Is it her like, how is it her settling? How much of a nod to you've got mail is this? Like, how do we read this email conclusion?
She has stopped being such a perfectionist. Like, I think she now is like, it is obscuring our humanity. And also, I'm a freelancer who isn't at a desk all day. And so I won't be answering the phone. So I need email. I think that this is supposed to be a sign that she has let go of the like super tight leash of judgment. The implication to me being maybe she would be less hateful about Hare Krishnas now.
Fingers crossed.
Oh my God, I forgot about that scene.
Oh.
Jessica is not a likable character.
Yeah, that's the scene where Helen says, "What do you do to make yourself happy?" And she says,
Nothing, I'm
not.
Yeah.
I think it's such a funny line.
I think there are a lot of really great lines in this movie.
There really are. There really are. I think they're really good dialogue writers.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like she's let go. She's compromising. She's less of a perfectionist. She's trying to be a little bit easier on herself and other people.
She's willing to laugh at herself, right? Like, oh yeah, I used to not be into email and look at me now.
Yeah. Like I'm willing to change instead of being somebody whose priority is having like an incredibly strong and consistent position on a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that there is a little bit of this like being available via email is a sign that you are open to love. Because in 2002, that's how love happens.
I absolutely think you're both right. I also just think it's about settling, you know? Like, well, if you want to be happy, you're just going to have to accept the things that you don't like.
Yeah.
You don't like email? Tough, bitch.
One cannot live a principled stance. The world sucks.
I don't disagree with that take, though. I don't want art, like, reifying it. But, like...
I know.
Yeah, man. I would love to pretend email didn't exist.
Oh, same. Oh.
But I don't disagree.
Yeah, but here we are in the real world, answering our emails like a bunch of suckers.
Oh, but don't worry, you guys, I don't know if you heard, you can actually get ChatGPT to answer all your emails for you.
Okay,
so
I gotta go.
Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it.
I think the computers are numbing humanity, though. So
numbing and obscuring.
Obscuring. Her delivery on that line is so good, though, too.
It's so good. It's just like a throwaway.
Numbing and obscuring our humanity.
I just think it's numbing and obscuring our humanity.
That's just something that I believe.
Yeah.
I'm not judging you.
Yeah. No, I'm sure your job is really good. I just think
Stanley is a genius. Isn't he gorgeous? This is a great movie. This is a great movie.
I love this movie.
I love
this movie and I hate this movie.
So, my friends, if you could rewrite this ending, what would you do?
I am stuck on the unresolved problem of Jessica just not being that into sex.
Me too, kind of.
That would do a lot for me in terms of resolving the like unresolved bits of the end of this movie, is just some indication that like, is she just not into sex? Do we have a reason to believe that she will like sex with Josh more? Is it that she's not gay enough? What's the relationship between gayness and sexual enjoyment? Like, I just want a little more, just something.
I have an answer for this.
Okay.
I want Josh to like give her a kiss on the cheek goodbye and touch her stomach in some capacity and for her to not hate it.
God, that would be a really hard scene to figure out how to do.
I think it could be done.
A casual acquaintance at a bookstore touching your stomach.
See you later.
No.
Like a Pillsbury Doughboy.
Like, put his hand on her side.
And she goes, woohoo.
I feel abused here. This was a brainstorming meeting. There are no bad ideas in brainstorming.
I didn't say no. I said it would be hard.
All I said was
it would be a challenging scene.
Now you're gaslighting
to figure out how to block
about how negative you were about my idea.
There's too many Jews in this podcast.
So funny. So funny.
No, he leans in and says goodbye and puts his hand on her side. And she's just like, oh, and like it's awkward. And instead of being like, she's like, oh, I think I could do this. I can do hard things. Yeah. Why'd you make that face and ruin me saying that?
Who?
What?
Who?
Nobody made any faces.
Who?
I'm gonna go. I'm feeling ganged up on. Marcelle, is there something that you would change about the end of this movie?
Oh my gosh. I mean,
someone would just yell bisexuality at the end of the movie.
Bisexuality is real. I don't know. I don't know.
They just turn to the camera, break the fourth wall and say, by the way.
I think I would really like the subtext to be text. a bit more, but I don't know which subtext. I don't know if it's the subtext about bisexuality or if it's the subtext about like Josh being the primary love interest. But like something. I want something so that the movie's a little bit less ambiguous. I want the movie to tell me how to think about it. And so if it was something like,
You want the movie to be more of a man.
I want the movie to mansplain itself to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want Jessica to like say something to Josh about like, turns out I'm not gay, I'm just bisexual.
Yeah.
Or turns out I'm not gay, I just don't like having sex. Or turns out I'm not gay, I was just waiting for the right man to come along and here you are. You know, each one increasingly awful as an option.
But that's what you want.
That's what I want. That's what I want.
That's
Yeah.
okay. You're allowed to want that.
Yeah.
Next week, I am going to watch the movie Bros with Daniel Schrader. Neither of you are invited.
But I am very interested to hear more about how the structure of the rom-com has to transform
Okay.
Ooh.
I'll report back.
it to be a gay love story. So please report back.
Maybe you noticed that last week we didn't have an expert interview at the end of our main episode. We ran into some technical issues, which happens once every 10 years or so. But we couldn't let Kissing Jessica Stein pass without having a scholar weigh in. And something that I couldn't stop thinking about when I watched this movie was the name, Josh Myers. Myers just didn't sound Jewish to me. I know what you're thinking. Vanessa Zoltan doesn't sound Jewish either. Fair. Which got me thinking about the history of Jewish names. Jewish name changes. Why do some names sound more Jewish than others? Why did so many get changed? So I wanted to call up Professor Kirsten Fermaglich. She is the professor of history and Jewish studies at Michigan State University and the author of A Rosenberg by Any Other Name, which explores the history of name changing among Jews in the United States in the 20th century. Let's give Kirsten a call. Hi, Kirsten. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
So, Kirsten, my mom was born Rosenberg, and they changed it to Roger once they moved to the United States. And my grandpa, like, he was one of 7, and he was the only one who did it. Everyone else in my family, like the Rosenbergs in LA, are a huge family that I'm a part of. So thank you for writing a book about my family.
Absolutely no problem. I will actually say that, like, I didn't even realize before I put out my book that there's like an entire market of Rosenbergs. Like, I've had so many people buy this book because they're like, I have to give this to my friend or colleague whose name is Rosenberg. And I'm like, oh my God, like if I'd thought about that, I would have like figured out like exactly how many there are. It's interesting too that your family, that only one person changed their name. More times I found in my research, at least, families that changed their names together, but you're definitely not the only ones who, like, one branch of the family decided to change and the rest of them kept it as they are.
Okay, before we get into name changing in the US, though, can you please just explain to us the concept of a Jewish surname? In the intro to your book, you write a little bit about this period of emancipation in the 19th century in Eastern and Central Europe. And I know that's not your main area of expertise, but can you just tell us briefly about that and what led to the idea of a Jewish name?
Thank you for giving me the out. This is not my subject of expertise, but I've read about it. So the idea of a last name itself is something that has like a history, right? People didn't always have a surname that was something that was passed on by family and sort of maintained through the patrilineal line. That's something that develops over time, over the course of a millennium in different places. As nations develop in Europe, they find the need to tax people usually, and also keep record of military service. And so last names become kind of a way of sort of having heritable property that can then be taxed. Jews, because of their status in Europe, they are kind of outside of this status. They give taxes as a corporate body, as an entire Jewish community. And so they're so they're not being incorporated into this kind of national space in the same way. As nation states develop in the 19th century, late 18th, early 19th century, beginning with the French Revolution, Jews are emancipated is the term, but it kind of means what emancipation means in America, in that it is a process of taking a group that has been isolated and excluded and made inferior and, freed them from those limitations. But like emancipation in the United States, it is frequently unfulfilled, right, in its promises of freedom. It is uneven and very partial and includes a lot of sticks, right? If you think of carrots and sticks, right, it includes a lot of sticks. And so one of the ways of doing this is by giving them last name, by making sure that they take last names. And there were like old wives' tales or like mythology that Jews were given really the ugliest names by, whatever sort of anti-Semitic official came to their town. But the material I've read, at least, suggests that's not true, that Jews actually chose their names and that there were styles, just like there are styles today. People choosing baby names, right, know that there are cool names and there are names that everybody that you know are choosing, and those sound beautiful and those are the names they want. And I think that that's probably what happened with Jews. So Jews choose names that are called in, name circles, etymological circles. They're called like artificial names, which is itself its own kind of negative connotation. But basically, they choose names that sound beautiful to them, right? They're stylish: Goldstein, Eisenberg, Weinstein, Feingold, right? Like names that are brought together and they mean things that are beautiful: mountain, city, water. They bring together sort of attractive sounding, frequently nature kind of brought together. But those names wind up becoming, because Jews have chosen them at a later time than all the other Europeans that they live around, and they've chosen a different style because they are living in this distinct culture and they've chosen them at a different moment. I'll say that Jews sometimes at this moment choose names that are similar to the people around them. So they will choose names based on the cities they live in, like Wiener, or they will choose it based on their profession, like Kaufmann, which means tailor. And these are, German, and it really depends on, where
I know,
they're choosing
sometimes
their
I think
names.
a name sounds Jewish and it's just German.
Well, right. And a lot of times it depends on where you are. I mean, I moved to Michigan State University. I moved to East Lansing in 2001. And names like Schwartz or Kaufman, that if you have them on the East Coast in New York City, you're much more likely to be Jewish. But if you have them here, you're more likely to be German and not Jewish, actually. But these names that I was describing, Feinstein, Goldberg, names like that, are names that Jews are choosing at a particular moment. And they do kind of become seen as Jewish names that can kind of identify Jews and see them as distinct.
Okay, so I think most people, including me, think of the phenomenon of immigrant name changing as like this thing that happened at Ellis Island, where like some clerk was like, I can't say that, and just wrote something else down. Is that really how most name changes happened? Was this a thing that happened?
No, it was definitely not how most name changes happened. I can say that for sure. And I might get phone calls from like angry people who have a story that their grandmother told them, and now that we're ruining a Booby story, and I will feel very bad about that. I can't say that it never happened. So it's possible, if you're listening to this, right, that your family was the only family that this happened for. But it was not policy. It definitely did not happen in mass large numbers. When I give lectures in person, I frequently encourage people to kind of look at any genealogical website. If you're looking for your family, if your family immigrated, you're looking at manifests, right? If you're looking at passenger lists, and that's what Ellis Island officials are actually using. And what they did at Ellis Island is they called people's names, right? They had their name. They would call you up on their name. They had translators there, right? So it's possible that names were changed in Europe as people got tickets and got put on the manifest. It's possible that names changed then. And there are stories of people getting somebody else's passport or, sort of getting a different name to put in there. That might have happened. Ellis Island had rules not to do this, and they had no power. So American name change law is more flexible than most of Europe, certainly. So you can take on any name you want, and so long as you use it regularly with no intent to defraud somebody, that's your name. So there's no power for Ellis Island to change your name. You could have walked off. Somebody could have said to you, you should change your name to Smith. You could have walked off Ellis Island and continued to use your name Cohen, and there's nothing they could do. There's no mechanism for that.
Got it.
So I am sorry. It's probably not true.
Oh, we didn't go through Ellis Island. So you're upsetting all these other people's bubbies, but not mine. Don't worry about me. So if it wasn't changed there, where were the names changed? Because we know that they were. I mean, was it just like my family, my grandpa being like, I don't want to sound so Jewish?
Yeah. So, I mean, immigrant memoirs will talk about people, at a sweatshop, or people that they know socially saying, oh, that name sounds too Jewish. Take on something less Jewish. My research looks actually at a different set of documents. So my research looks at name change petitions, which anybody in America can fill out, right? At a city court, usually you can go in and change your name. You don't have to do this. As I just said, you could just sort of choose a new name. And lots of immigrants probably did do that. They just kind of grabbed a new name. The materials I'm looking at, because this is people who went to court to change their name, they actually filed a name change petition. The vast majority of the petitions that I looked at were actually not from immigrants. They were actually people born in the United States. 75% of them were actually born in the United States. And they're changing their name in court. I looked in all the way from 1887 all the way through 2012, so for a full century. But the petitions that I found in the middle of the 20th century are large majorities of them are from Jews. Mm-hmm. And they are probably doing so because they are facing anti-Semitism, because they're not able to get the jobs that they want. They're not able to get into the schools that they want. They're facing ridicule for having a Jewish name. And also the kinds of jobs they're looking for. They are looking for white-collar jobs. Jews are the European ethnic immigrant group that is in the 20th century sort of the most likely to be looking for middle-class jobs. It is the fastest to be looking for white collar and pink collar for women jobs. And because of that, they are putting their names down on paper. And because they do that, that makes it easy for employers, for schools to be looking at those names and excluding them. And so it becomes this kind of delicate dance of people looking for jobs, putting their names on paper, facing discrimination because of that, and therefore changing their names in the hopes that something else that they can put down on paper will be able to be more likely to get them a job.
Can you tell me about Columbia University and how that established the first modern college admissions form? Because I'm also immediately thinking about like applying to Harvard and Harvard's quotas, like all of that. But tell me about Columbia.
I mean, so Columbia starts it. Harvard picks it up pretty soon afterwards. But Columbia, being in New York City, they are the school that a lot of immigrant Jews want to go to, right? Jews decide that they're going to use the school system as a means of upward mobility, right? They have free public schooling. And then the Ivy League for New York City is like right there in New York. So they don't have to get dorms. They can live at home, right? It's a subway right away. And it looks like a real ticket to upward mobility. So a lot of Jews are trying to go to Columbia and are getting in because it is merit-based and they are really using the school system, right? They're trying to use this as a ticket to get ahead. And Columbia administrators sort of see this as a negative, right? They see this as something that is bringing down the class status of the school. I believe that the term a Jewish problem is a Harvard. So Harvard sort of says openly, we have a Jewish problem a couple of years after Columbia does this. But Columbia begins doing it kind of quietly right after World War I. They do surveys of their student populations and they decide that they need to change the way they do admissions. Before this, they had a half-page application form that basically just asked for your name, where you live, your address, what you got in your Regents scores, and that's it, right? And afterwards, they decide that kind of system is letting in too many Jews. So they begin deciding based on all their stereotypes of Jews. So one stereotype of Jews is they don't do sports. So We need to ask people, what kind of sports do you do, right? Another stereotype is that they are greasy grinds. I mean, that's the term that actually involves them not doing sports, but also that they are so focused on grades that they don't do anything else. So that's the focus on extracurricular activities, right? So all these things that we now know are like your ways of getting into college, right, are basically like developed at this moment because there's this perception of who Jews are, and then an effort to create an ideal student that is not Jewish, and then ask a bunch of questions to try to create that ideal student, right? And I'll say that they also ask questions about name changing. So in this kind of delicate dance that I'm talking about, where Jews are looking for the jobs, put down their names on the job applications because they want these kinds of jobs or this kind of schooling, and then those names on the applications make them undesirable. So then they change their names, and then the application forms then ask, like, have you changed your name, right? Has anybody in your family changed their name? What's your mother's maiden name? All ways on the application form that you can try to figure out if this person is Jewish or not. So
why don't they just ask your religion?
And that's a really good question. Do you go, what church do you go to, and things like that, right?
Yeah.
They do ask questions like that. The ones that I've seen, at least, don't openly ask for your religion. I think because it does look like it will be religious discrimination, right? And I think that they're worried that there will be claims that you are discriminating against a certain form of Protestant sect, right? Lutherans or, whatever, Episcopalians or things like that, right? So they do go about it from a side way because they don't want to sort of be suggesting that they're using religious discrimination.
Kirsten, this is mind-blowing for how the world works. So returning to the popular Ellis Island mythology, how does that story emerge? And what do you see that sort of like doing for people? Why are boobies saying this if it's not true?
So I found, at least, and I can't say this is definitely not true. There may be earlier examples, but when I was looking, for example, so I used like the joke, the Sean Ferguson joke. So some people know this. There's an immigrant who's come in on Ellis Island, and it is very confusing for him. There's lots of noise. There's lots of bustle. He doesn't know what's going on. And he finally gets to the front of the line, and the official says to him, "What is your name?" And he is so confused and so disoriented. He says, "Shame vergessen," which means in Yiddish, "I've forgotten already." And he says he gets written down as Sean Ferguson. So I went looking for that joke in joke books, in American joke books and humor books. And it doesn't show up really until the 19th. And there's lots of other jokes about immigration, but that joke does not show up. No other name jokes show up really until the 1960s. And even in the 1960s, actually, that joke gets told as a joke about a Yiddish movie star who goes to California. His agent says, you have to come up with a new name. You got to come up with a new name. And so he tells that he's rehearsing it on the train to Hollywood. So I think it takes a while for this story to emerge, and to emerge the way that it does in kind of popular lore. And, I think there could be a few different reasons why, but I will say that, so all these Jews, there's this phenomenon of Jews changing their names in like the 1920s, 30s, especially during World War II, because of the anti-Semitism that they're facing. And I'll say like 20s, 30s, 40s, a lot of people are doing this. And there's, within the Jewish community, there is some cultural concern about it, a little bit of worry, but people also know why it's happening, right? They understand the pressures that are going on. After World War II, there is much more sort of communal disapproval that is being expressed in sermons and in social science and in sort of popular literature and culture, right? There's a lot more attacks on people who've changed their names. They are seen as people betraying the Jewish community, becoming traitors, passing out of the Jewish community. I think it created a lot of communal unease that people were changing their names. And so I think that people started talking about Ellis Island officials changing their names because it made them not responsible, right? Somebody else did it. And it was, United States, which had perpetrated all other kinds of crimes by the 1970s. And so I think that it was a safer way of talking about experiences in America rather than taking on the responsibility of having changed names, that they had not been responsible for sort of giving up a family name and not just giving up a family name, but really kind of erasing or being embarrassed or being ashamed of being Jewish, right? I mean, it's not even always about pride in the name Goldberg or Goldstein, but it's actually that taking away those names was actually about sort of, making sure that people didn't think you were Jewish, right, in some way. And I think that became sort of a mark of inauthenticity. And people were not necessarily wanting to talk about that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Any one last thing that you're like, I can't get off the phone without people knowing this about Jewish last names?
It's the significance of names and the fact that there are no funny names, right? That names are really a meaningful thing. People treat names as insignificant frequently when they have the privilege of knowing that they will be able to keep their name, give it to their children, have it be a name that is not a name that is subject to ridicule or that implies a despised racial category to them. And I think that it's important to really see the importance of names for people's lives, right? And to not make fun of them, to not see them as funny, but to actually recognize their significance and the significance of being able to change them and take on the name that you want, right? That has a lot of meaning. And I think that too often historians and just general people out there tend to think about names as really superficial. And I think that's the main thing is that I want to say is that it's not superficial. It's really, really important.
The pharmacist was very annoyed that I didn't take my ex-husband's name.
Yeah. I mean, that's
like, I'm so sorry. This is inconvenient for you, sir.
Right. And they would say like, what's the big deal? Right. But the big deal is that it's your name. Right. And if it's not a big deal, then why are you pressuring me about it? Right. It clearly means something to you. You clearly want me to change my name. Yeah. I think it doesn't mean anything. It's super superficial. Until it does, right? Until it suggests that you are changing your gender identity or until you're disrupting sort of rules about what names are supposed to be, right? And then all of a sudden, the importance of names become really clear to people. Yeah.
Kirsten, thank you so much for getting on the phone with us, for your scholarship, and for being a delight.
Well, thank you. It's lovely to talk to you. And I'm so glad you're doing work on names. I can't wait to see like what this sounds and what you do.
It's all because I was like, Myers, that doesn't sound like a Jewish name.
Oh, and that's so funny because I would be like, no, that totally sounds Jewish.
I don't know why it sounds like Irish or something to me. It's not real.
And I will say, like, I now live in Michigan where Myers is the big grocery store and it is not at all Jewish. So
there you go.
I hear it.
I obviously knew one Myers who wasn't Jewish, and I was like, that's not a Jewish name. Thank you, Kirsten. You've been listening to Hot and Bothered. We are a small show, so please consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/hotandbotheredrompod. We are a Not Sorry production. Ariana Nettleman and I are the executive producers, and Ariana Nettleman produces and edits the show. We are distributed by Acast. We'd like to thank Kirsten Fermaglich for getting on the phone with us and being such a wonderful guest expert. And thanks as always to our soulmate level patrons, Elizabeth Schweinsberg, whose heart we would play a game of one-on-one basketball for, Lauren Byer O'Connell, who we would call up on stage to dance with in front of the whole summer camp, Avi Lichtenstein, who we would make every person in the kingdom try on a shoe for, Kristen Hall, who we would travel through a time portal to spend the 19th century with, Shiri Yadlin, who we would write a sonnet about and read it in front of the whole class, Delia Rose, who we are majorly totally butt crazy in love with, and Leia Goldberg, who we would carry on our backs as we jump from tree to tree like a little spider monkey. We also love our team, Julia Argy, Nikki Zoltan, AJ Aramas, Courtney Brown, Anissa Ahmed, Danny Langley, and Stephanie Paulsell.